Hey everyone, and welcome to Think Copilot. My name is Garry Trinder. I'm a cloud developer advocate at Microsoft, focused on Microsoft 365. And I have with me today.
Hey everybody, my name is Waldek, and I am also a developer advocate for Microsoft 365 at Microsoft.
And with us today, we have a guest, Stephan. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, thanks for having me. My name is Stephan. I'm from Austria, long-time AI MVP, working at a consultancy company in Graz, Austria. We're doing mostly Microsoft 365 consultancy, and as you might guess, all of the goodness of Copilot and Gen AI these days.
Fantastic, yes, and as you've said, combining the two worlds, right, that you've lived in, AI and M365, and now Copilot. So we're really interested to know, how are you using AI in your day-to-day work?
Well, for me, and funny enough, I'd like to introduce myself when I have like pre-sales calls and stuff like that, with the slogan of "I'm doing Copilot" way before it was called Copilot, actually. So for me, in general, using AI is nothing new. I remember we've built a company internal chatbot years ago, which was like the alpha version of what Copilot could do. So you could ask him stuff like, what are the news on our internet page? Or how do I do this and that? Where do I find specific documents? Where do I find knowledge? And I've transitioned from using those very basic tasks into what's available as of now using Copilot or other generative AI services out there to do or to infuse AI wherever I can in my whatever tasks I'm doing. May that be summarizing an email communication or translating documents, because I'm not a native English speaker. So Gen AI helps me a ton when doing communications and stuff like that, and filling out what do I have to do when I get a long email from a customer in English, for instance, picking out pieces and action items at a very easy thing to do.
Fantastic. So that's really interesting, the fact that, I've been using AI before it was even Copilot. So based on your experience then, what's the difference? What's the difference between what you had before and maybe what you've got now with Copilot?
I'd say it's more intuitive to use now. So I just remember building bots on my own, especially the natural understanding piece was quite hard, the natural language understanding piece, because the services and the tools weren't that mature as they are now. So you would have actually to think about what people might ask your bot before you could implement it. And using services like OpenAI and the models they offer, you don't even have to care about that piece. You can just basically focus on your whatever logic you want to try to implement, and the same goes for Copilot, right? So it naturally understands what you want to express, and therefore then derives actions based on that. And we've gone from a shift of telling the service what to do, rather than now we basically just express what we want without even telling the service go there or use this tool or you'll get the information from there. That's basically more mature, I would say, and therefore it's more intuitive to use.
You mentioned that you've been in this space for a long time, long before Copilot was a thing. Clippy time frame, maybe? Do you recall still maybe like your first experience with AI that like blew your mind? It's like, oh yeah, that's the space I want to spend more time in because it's cool, exciting, impressive. You recall that?
Yeah, I guess it was like somewhere 2016, 17 or so. And back then, I remember we had a conversation in our office with one of our founders, where we were in a bit of a hassle of where to focus next. I mean, as a company, we were coming from SharePoint and development and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden we had Office 365, customers jumping on 365 back then. But we always wanted to go the extra mile, right? So we didn't want to be just another consultancy company. We wanted to be right on the edge. And so back then it was like Bot Framework version 3 just came out, and I had a quick look. And although you needed to build a lot of stuff manually on your own, it was quite impressive what you could achieve, even without being like a data scientist, or even without coming along and up with your own algorithms. So you would back in the days have at least a Q&A bot, which was rather simple, but back then it was impressive, up and running within a couple of hours, where you could then ask questions, the machine understood what you have asked, and then if possible it would give you an answer. And that was quite impressive, because you wouldn't need to train a model, you wouldn't need to come up with algorithms, you didn't need to do the math on your own, but you would have something like an AI infused application which you could have a conversation with no effort.
Yeah, and I think that was also exciting, because I think that was roughly the same time where we've seen a lot of interest around all of these, assistant appliances, and also assistants embedded in the OS. Like every OS would have an assistant.
Right.
We saw this, little pucks you would put all over your house to be able to talk to stuff. So I think that was kind of following that trend where, hey, now you can talk to things. Like you don't no longer need to go to hit the lights. You can just say it out loud and turn the lights off and on, play music, do whatever you want to do, right? So I think
Right.
that was kind of following that trend. But then that trend kind of decreased a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, how do you see continuation or change in that space, and now the next kind of wave with Copilot?
Now, as said, back then you would need at least have someone who could build the tool or application you would like to go for, and now it's just there. I mean, look at Copilot. You just buy the license, and the stuff integrates in whatever application you're using for work, may that be the Office apps or Outlook or even Teams, without the need of you doing anything except for assigning the license to an end user. And that said, it's at your fingertips now, which wasn't the case back then.
Yeah, an interesting point you made there, Waldek, about asking all these assistants. And we're recording this the day after we've just had an announcement of the Copilot PCs, and actually AI infused into the devices, so that you can actually talk to the AI and get responses to just use the computer. So I feel like we've kind of gone round in a circle there. We've kind of come back. I find that really interesting.
Cortana V2, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I thought Cortana was just a character in Halo, right? Apparently, it was a thing. So one thing I wanted to ask you. So last week we were both at a conference. We're at European Collaboration Summit. We talked a lot about Copilot. You've done some sessions as well. What kind of things have people been asking about? What's their interest in Copilot that they might not have had previously? What questions are they asking?
I mean, certainly there's a huge how should I say, gap between the knowledge of certain people you talk to at conferences like these. So some of them have already adopted Copilot, and they want to know how to extend it, how to bring in like other third-party systems or even their LOB apps to extend Copilot with their own skills or with their own knowledge sources. While others, they still struggle with even introducing Copilots at their organizations, right? Because it's not only about the technology you enable, it's also about enabling people to use the technology in a certain kind of way. being more efficient and more productive while using tools like Copilot and other AI services. So yeah, it's like a mix of how do I introduce it versus I've already adopted it, people are using it, they're loving it, and now how can we extend it to, at a certain degree, customize it to fit our needs even better.
For those folks who just start, what kind of tips would you give? Let's say 2 or 3 tips top of mind for somebody who starts to be able to kind of set that first step and get to the light bulb aha moment, like, oh my God, this is so cool.
So obviously, we're talking a lot to IT people, right? But from my perspective, rolling it out or doing like a POC just with IT people may not be the best possible solution, because people who are not IT people, who don't work in IT all day, they might benefit more from using generative AI tools rather than people who know how to code or who know how to do PowerShell scripts or who know how to automate stuff, right? So for those people, the first usage of Copilot might not be the light bulb moment, while if you give a Copilot license to someone in like sales or HR or marketing or whatever, they might come back to you saying, oh, this tool saved me a lot of minutes today, and I want to keep it. I have like these and those use cases, and for these and those use cases, it's really beneficial to me. So that's the first thing. And the other thing is, so what we are trying to do is we trying to establish what we call a flight crew, like a key user group, and that flight crew should explore Copilot in every facet, right? Using Copilot in a variety of apps, exploring Copilot where it could help them, and also give the project team feedback where it's not helping them yet, to look for ways on how to solve maybe issues or problems. And most of those problems come back from things like we don't have the right knowledge sources attached to Copilot, because we're still using file shares a lot, and Copilot natively is not connected to those file shares, or we're using third-party apps for our CRM or for our ERP system, and Copilot doesn't know about that. So we actually get feedback from end user what they need, with which services and with which applications they're working day to day, and where their information is sitting. So then we can act upon that.
Yeah, so I love that idea of, kind of getting a group together, almost like, actively experimenting with the tooling, see what fits. And, I think as everyone is kind of going through this as well, seeing, where AI excels, where it maybe doesn't excel as much. And interesting, I read something the other day about how, we're going through a technological change at the moment, and it tends to be when we have these waves that it's the simple, repetitive kind of tasks that get replaced, whereas actually with AI, it's more of the creative tasks where it can really have a benefit. So things like brainstorming, coming up with ideas, it's very good at making those connections and generating ideas, so that then you as a group can take it forward and then ideate on it further. So, all those different applications of where you can use AI, it's kind of key to just build that muscle, right? Of, hey, we need some ideas, right? Well, let's bring AI into our process, rather than just kind of looking at tasks to just replace with AI. Let's enhance the work that we're doing. Have you seen kind of things like that with customers where they're where are they actively getting the benefits from?
Yeah, it's exactly like you said. Most of my customers, they see Copilot as like a brainstorming partner. So in the past, and even for us internally, when working on a project team, we would group up in a Teams meeting, and to prepare like a workshop, we sit together, the three of us, and come up with topics we want to discuss. and come up with content we'd like to introduce to the customer. And these days, we are not a group of 3, but a group of 4, having Copilot sitting right next to us, and then asking questions like, okay, this is our challenge. How could we approach that? Or list me like 10 topics which I could include in my session or in my workshop or in my slide deck. Rather than Googling it or Binging it in the past, I now have Copilot, which is a more richer brainstorming partner to do, yeah, like you said, the creativity part.
How does so now being able to have this, ever-present assistant at zero cost, in a sense that like it's just there, it's ubiquitous, like it's really easy to invoke it everywhere you work. How do you see that changing the way you work and think, if at all?
In the beginning, honestly, it was quite a it was there was a mindset shift necessary for some of our customers, or even for some of from my colleagues, to use the tools wherever they can, because although it's integrated everywhere, it doesn't mean that people are using it like from the first second on. So you would actively need to think of, hey, I have Copilot, and this is my task I want to do. I could even try to use Copilot to fulfill my task. But then if you're like getting to know where Copilot can help you, which things Copilot can do best, which things he maybe lags still behind, then within your working routine, it somehow gets like yeah, natural to use Copilot in like Outlook for summarizing emails, or number one pick, Teams meetings. When you come late in a Teams meeting, you don't ask what have I missed. You ask Copilot, recap me the meeting so far,
Yeah.
which comes in with zero thinking about the other options you would have.
Yeah. And so you mentioned an interesting point where it's kind of to like you get this new tool, and to get the most out of it, you need to spend some deliberate time to practice, to learn basically how to wield the hammer that you got. Do you have some favorite go-to resources that you recommend to customers to learn how to get the most out of code?
Apart from the YouTube videos out there, I really like the learning paths which are out there on learn.microsoft.com, because you don't even have to be a tech person or an IT person to go through the learning paths, to explore Copilot, and also learn more about how it works. Because if you know a bit about how it works, then you know a bit more about how to handle it and how to use it. Um, so therefore, I recommend everyone to go through the learning paths and check them out, to get a bit of a glance of, hey, this is Copilot, these are the components behind Copilot, this is how it works underneath, to get a bit of a better understanding of how it works in the background or behind the curtains, to get the most out of it.
Yeah, I think that's a key thing, having that understanding of why you got the answer that you just got, and how you can then better provide more context, instruction, directions, so that you get better responses. It's an interesting thing. And another thing that I read about, where your domain expertise really comes into when you're using things like Copilot to maybe help you write a document or an article, is that, yes, you could just say, hey, write this article, and you just get something back, right? But actually, as an expert in that field, maybe you're a copywriter, you can actually direct and instruct AI using your knowledge of how things should be laid out, and maybe the emotions that you want people to feel when they've read the what you're asking AI to generate. You enhance your the work that you're already doing. So I just find that really interesting. Of like, we have this tool that can do a lot, but we're still like important. The human at the keyboard is still important, and you can you know, you can based on your actions, you can decide whether you've got a good best or better response, right, from AI. And I think that's going to be interesting to see, how people adopt this technology going forward. Like you said, there's people at all different levels at the moment, just starting, maybe been using it for quite a while. On that, kind of like a looking ahead, where, based on your experience of being in this AI field and seeing the change, where do you think we're going to be going next? What's your kind of vision for the future?
And maybe to add to that, one more thing. What are you excited about? Which kind of the developments and things that evolve?
I mean, certainly, my vision would be to not only communicate with Copilot in written form, but obviously in the most natural form I could use, which is my voice. So that although I'm not speaking a higher German dialect, but an Austrian German dialect, it should understand me as well. So that would be my dream of just sitting in front of the PC, having Copilot listening to me, having a natural conversation with Copilots like we do now, and then telling it, hey, summarize my emails, or I want to work on a specific task. Can you help me with that? Again, coming back to the brainstorming partner, but then just listening to Copilot's voice, however that might sound. So that would be my dream, and all of us. What I think what gets more and more important is, speaking of Copilot in the era of AI and the modern workplace, not only consists of Microsoft 365 for, I'm guessing, all organizations around the globe, but also like third-party services integrated into their modern workplace, extending Copilot and making it easy to connect Copilot to other applications, surfacing information from their ERP systems and whatnot, in a very easy and consumable way, without a developer needing to sit there for like 20 days developing an extension or plugin, and having a hard time debugging it, rather than coming to, let's say, a setup where I maybe instruct Copilot, hey, this is my API or this is my service, and these are the items I wanna have you listed from there or getting from there. Go figure out how to get them.
Ask
And
Copilot
does the rest for
to
me.
extend itself to get the access for
Yeah, right.
everything.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Excellent.
That would be impressive, definitely. And all that is, essentially ensuring that as an organization, you're going through this one Copilot that can reach out to all of your data as well, right? Yeah. That's the, yes, there's lots of data in M365, but there's lots of data in LOB systems that, that adding those connections, letting Copilot reason over all that data is going to give you a much better experience, right? When using it.
Right.
Okay, with that, let's wrap this up. Thank you very much, Stephan, for coming and sharing your insights about AI, modern workplace with us. Been great to chat. And everyone who's been listening and watching, thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.